Okay, before I move on, this is a brief introduction to you about Microchip, what we do, how we do it, our vision, and where we are progressing. And coming to the topic for today, just to give you an overview of microprocessor solutions from Microchip. And to do that, I have my colleague Bhanu Prakash. We call him as Bhanu. Bhanu heads field applications team or embedded solutions engineering team for ASEAN region, and he has the responsibilities of bringing in various solutions for the customer needs, and also he leads the worldwide initiatives for embedded security solutions as well. With this brief introduction, Bhanu, over to you.
Thank you, Srinivas. So I think Srinivas has given a very good overview of Microchip's total portfolio of what we do, where are our centers, our business, and what kind of customers and markets that we serve. Most of you on the call would be very familiar with PIC microcontrollers, I'm sure, and for those Atmel fans here, I'm sure you'll all be familiar with our 8051 or AVR series of MCUs. Microchip is today a much larger organization than just a microcontroller company. I mean, just
Hello. Hello. You're not audible, I think, sir. Hello.
And how have we come into this market? What are our products and solutions, and what is our focus going forward in that particular space? The microcontroller side of the story is very large. It will probably be a whole new seminar series that we could do on the microcontroller family. So this particular presentation today is primarily going to focus on the MPU microprocessor family of our devices. So again, when we talk of Microchip and Atmel got integrated together almost 5 years back now, I think 4 or 5 years back. And at that point of time, Microchip, before the acquisition of Atmel, did have a roadmap for an MPU, but once we acquired Atmel, we started to continue and develop Atmel's portfolio of microprocessors, as they were much more advanced in terms of products as well as availability. So the first microprocessor that Microchip came up with is way back in 2002, which is an RM 9200 device. And I'm sure you would all be familiar with the SAM 9X series. Finally, both Atmel and Microchip were microcontroller companies, and microprocessors was more of an expansion to enable the capabilities for our clients to go and do advanced applications. So the primary aim of our microprocessor architecture was in fact to enable our existing customer base, who would probably be at the edge of capabilities of the microcontrollers that they have and want to migrate them to a microprocessor based design. Linux being one of the key drivers which is forcing customers to go to a microprocessor. So our idea of developing a microprocessor core, etc., was not from the idea of developing it for a mobile phone or for a very high-end telecom equipment or such market, and then try to scale it down to a micro embedded space. It is actually a bottoms-up approach wherein we scaled from a very high-end microcontroller to how do you migrate the designs on a microcontroller platform to a microprocessor family. So our philosophy of design, both Atmel as well as Microchip have been very similar in this, and when we integrated, it was pretty seamless. But we wanted to give an upward migratory path to our existing customer base to migrate their designs to an MPU-based design, which will give them Linux capability. So this is the core philosophy behind which we started doing the microprocessor design itself. So I'm sure most of you would have known this, but for people, just to make this point much more clear and bring some clarity, MPU is different than MCU, and how are they different? In many ways, and I'm going to talk about this especially in the context of trying to bring about the point as to how microchip MPUs are much more closer to the embedded world, much more closer to making it easy for people to use them like an MCU than a typical MPU vendor who would offer you a very flashy MPU, but it's going to be extremely difficult to implement or adapt into an embedded world or an industrial world especially. So MPUs require external memories. Most of you know it requires RAM, DRAM, as well as flash, and it has an MMU that enables operating systems such as Linux. They are much more IOs and richer co-processors and peripheral sets than in any MCU is concerned. The power management for MPUs, typically most MPUs, if you look at the Intels or the other traditional MPUs, power management tends to be extremely complex compared to an MCU design, which is a single rail 3-volt or 5-volt designs. So this is essentially the primary difference. One is the power management, the external memory that is required, especially the DRAM. These are the primary differences in terms of how you architect a board. Of course, the MPUs would run OSs like Linux or Android or Windows or something like that as well. But the primary hardware difference would be that that MPUs have external memory and much more complex power management. So why this? I mean, what triggered Microchip, a microcontroller company, or Atmel, a microcontroller company, to really come up with a microprocessor? Because microprocessors are not driven out of embedded or industrial world's needs. They are more driven from a very high-end consumer like a mobile phone or a PC or a tablet kind of ecosystem than a microcontroller ecosystem. So this is a good example which illustrates the fact that how we developed our microprocessors and why we are different in terms of architecting it as well as enabling our customer base. Now, this is an example of a thermostat. You can see an old thermostat there with not even a display, and a modern thermostat today having a TFT display, touch interface, connected thermostat with all sorts of connectivity, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, or you name which connectivity we want. So the older generation ones had a local temperature measurement, wired connected to a local HVAC system. These systems also used MCUs. We supplied these kind of MCUs to these kind of clients. Then the advancement in IoT and the experience of mobile phone, etc., brings to the point that we want richer user interface, much better HMIs. So here the feature set becomes much larger, measure local temperature with the wired sensors, the wireless sensors, full GUI, smart interface, remote sensing, connect to in-home router, connect and stores and sends usage data to cloud. You can run AI, ML kind of applications on this, so on and so forth. The same client that was doing an old HVAC system now will have to compete and design systems that are much more complex in terms of the feature set and in terms of the software complexity that they will have to deal with. So this is the typical migration path that we had, the challenge that we had. We were servicing the then customers. The then customers will have to migrate to the now kind of designs, and we wanted to enable a migratory path for them to actually do these kind of designs without much hardship or much effort. So my presentation following slides would illustrate the fact that how are we making this simple? How are we making this migration simple and easy for people, for customers to do migrate an MCU based design to a very advanced MPU based design. So what is the complexity that we have added when you do something like this? The complexity is, is primarily in the software domain in terms of the features that we have added. These kind of features add a lot of risk to our customers. Again, what do I mean by risk is that thermostat manufacturers that we were serving would not necessarily have advanced Linux, engineers with them. They wouldn't have GUI designers with them, or all of these kind of engineers in their staff at that point of time. They would necessarily have hardware design engineers, MPU coders, firmware developers, etc., who are more knowledgeable about HVAC systems, the system design, overall temperature control, and how it has to work, rather than the complexity of enabling fancy GUIs, etc. Now, this is the need of the hour. This is the way the market is going, and we need to enable the customers who are microcontroller centric customers to a completely different processor world. What happens when something like this comes up for a client who is essentially an MCU customer is that the amount of features that he needs to add, the amount of software overhead that he has to develop becomes extremely complex if he has to achieve the same thing on an MCU. More complex development teams, more expertise required in terms of RF networking, security, cloud, UI, etc. And more software pieces to manage. Networking software, wireless file system, security, middleware, a lot of software that comes into play into these systems when the systems become more and more feature rich. So this is a big risk to his business. Is a risk to how he manages to upgrade existing customers that he has to a much more advanced ones, and as well as how he gives a roadmap for his devices as well. So if you have to do the same thing with an MCU, you could probably do. I mean, there are a lot of designs that use MCUs for graphic design. Then you will have to develop your own TCP/IP stack for file system stack. Just going back to the slide, look at the amount of software pieces that the person would have to manage if the same thing would have to be done with a high-end MCU. There is a file system, there is security, there is middleware, cloud software, networking, wireless. There are drivers related to each of these. There could be new kind of remote sensing temperature sensor like a Zigbee one, or some other fancy one that would come midway and become very popular that he has to support, so on and so forth. So the software complexity increases exponentially compared to the hardware complexity. Of course, the hardware is also now more complex, but if you measure the hardware complexity and software complexity, the software complexity of achieving this in an MCU-driven ecosystem is extremely, extremely difficult. This is when most of our customers had a nightmarish experience integrating thousands of pieces of software and trying to manage it to make it all work together. This is a problem that Linux solves very beautifully, and that is where the MPUs really enter the market space for us and for our customers. Linux integrates all of these drivers. Linux has a established set of networking protocols, etc. All of them they were developed for the computing world. They were not aimed at the embedded world in the beginning to start with, but all of those things that rich development experience from the computing world now can be directly transported to a industrial design or a consumer design like a thermostat that we're talking about. So how can we do this using MPUs? And they will enable higher performance. They have more memory, unlimited memory, especially because you can expand it with external flash and DRAM. Extremely simple because Linux integrates all the middleware, all the drivers in the package, and you won't that you need to focus on. So using a Linux becomes a much easier way to deal with these kind of complex migration that most of our industrial as well as consumer customers will have to do when their feature set for their products increases exponentially and the market needs and demands increase exponentially. So this is where Linux demand started coming in very heavily for us from our existing customer base. And there we had to really design a migratory path for our customers who are using high-end MCUs to migrate to MPU, but with little or minimal change in the way they approach how they used to do their product design. So let me illustrate the same thing further. Again, stressing the point why Linux. It just works because it has been is a tested thing. Everybody knows the OS that has been there for ages. The largest software base of code for embedded market, has device drivers for wired, wireless, memory, HMI. Whatever device that you have, somebody would have developed a driver for it, or there would already be a driver that is developed. Easy to add and integrate high-level code. The problem with MCU designs is when you have 5 interfaces. Let us say an MCU has a CAN interface, a wireless interface, Ethernet interface, and a ZigBee interface. You have 5 different communication stacks that you want to integrate. Even with an RTOS is a nightmarish situation if you have ever dealt with it. Linux makes it very seamless. It is like a PC. Everything works from the, and you have easy development for UI, graphics, video, audio, application layer. Like you can get a Python, a Java, Node.js kind of software capabilities, which were not at all available for the MCU world. Now we'll be able to develop applications in Python or Java. Cloud connectivity, all of these work seamlessly, whether it is AWS, Google, or Microsoft. Most of them have SDKs. Microsoft has a Linux SDK, Google has their own SDK, AWS has their own SDK for a complete cloud connected system that works seamlessly on Linux systems that can be ported onto any MPU. So going the Linux route reduces the single largest effort that a customer who is migrating from an MCU world to an MPU world has to endure, which is software. So all of the software effort, which is more than 70% of their total effort in any complex project, will be extremely minimized when he chooses a operating system like Linux. Of course, there are customers who are now migrating even to Android and also to Windows in certain cases as well. But Linux is the first line of choice for especially industrial designs that need to add complexity to them. Again, Linux is open source. Source code is access, no royalties. You don't need to pay anybody, so you don't need to worry about licensing it, which is true for Windows or any other proprietary system. There is a huge availability of skilled Linux developers. Of course, in India as well as outside of India, there are a lot of freelance developers if you really want to contract somebody to develop anything on Linux. So even if your company does not have the necessary skill set, there are companies, there are design houses who can develop a Linux driver for anything and deliver it to you. So you don't need to necessarily increase manpower, etc. So for an MCU company, going to Linux gives them all of these flexibility in their design. And there is long-term support, vetted, debugged code. Again, there is a very well organized Linux vetting process where every new code or everything that is added to a Linux kernel is vetted by a large worldwide team. So you know that these are tested very well, and even if there are bugs, etc., it is going to get fixed because a large set of customers use the same base of code. So all of these really argue well for using Linux in industrial systems, and this is not a novelty anymore. There are tons of applications running on Linux in the embedded world as we speak. Okay, for an MCU-based designer or a client or a customer, MPU hardware is complex. This is where companies like Phytech, Microchip are working together to solve this particular problem. MPU hardware is not as simple as MCU design in terms of PCB layout, etc. If you have to do a bare metal MPU design, add DDR memory and flash and all of that, you would require really good PCB designers who have experience in high-speed routing of DRAM, etc. And even if you have all of those, you will also require extremely good debugging capabilities when something does not really work once you power up. This was never the case with an MCU design. Most MCUs, the MCU itself would always run. It was only the external interfaces that used to cause us any debugging issues. But an MCU PCB design for an MCU, even the largest MCUs are not anywhere closer to the complexity that is there for an MPU based hardware. Power management was very easy in the MCU world. Power management is very complex in the MPU world. You would require multiple power lines. You would also require timing, when to switch on what. You would require sophisticated PMIX to be used, etc. And MPUs are also more susceptible to ripple, etc. So your power management and power design also became complex. And for our industrial customers, BGA packaging. And the BGA packaging is not something that all our industrial customers typically handle when they had MCUs. In India, people, if I go back 5-6 years, still preferred the use of plastic dipped packages. Plastic dip, which can be just hooked onto a socket. There was a big migration story when people using plastic dip went to SMD packages itself. BGA is a total different beast. It is one thing to find soldering places for them, is another thing to actually debug if something is not working. So BGA packaging is complex for MCU customers. For industrial customers, they don't necessarily like all of this. All of the MPUs that are there in the in the world today are essentially BGA packaged. And there are other things that you need to worry about. I mean, the MPU will not run on its own unless you really provide them memory, the DRAM and the flash. And the DRAM and flash are extremely commoditized markets. Their main business is from mobile phone computing and cloud kind of businesses. The industrial market for memory suppliers is very small. So they are not focused on this particular market as an MCU supplier or an MPU supplier is. And availability of these memories is not always guaranteed. They they get blocked by large consumers like a mobile phone manufacturer or an Apple or a Samsung, and you may not really get memory at all. And they don't care for end of life, because memory is something that you have to go on improving in terms of the nanometer technology to make it much more lower power as well as cost. So memories get end of life very, very quickly. For an industrial designer, for a medical designer, this is a nightmare situation, because once you get certification for a product, if you are a medical customer, you can't change anything on the board. If you change anything on the board, the certification becomes invalidated. You will have to go and validate it again, which is huge cost. Most of our medical supply customers used to come and ask us 15-year end of life guarantee for our devices. We can do that for our MPUs, but what about the memory? What about the DRAM and other things? For them, the medical customers are a very small piece of business. They would not bend their back and offer these kind of services. So these are some of the issues that our industrial customers face, the MPU-based customers face when they want to migrate to an MPU-based design. And the next couple of slides that I'm going to talk about is going to say how we are solving that as Microchip as a company, and of course how we are connected with Phytech and working with Phytech to solve exactly these issues and make it extremely simple for anybody wanting to do an MPU design, get up and going with hardware and getting everything to work. So what was our mantra? Our mantra was make it easy, simplifying MPU design and making it easy for our industrial customers or MCU based customers was our primary goal. And how did we do it? We started to do SIPs and SOM modules. SIP is a system in package. We have packaged the DDRAM inside the MPU package itself, so they are a system in package, and we have contracted with the DDRAM vendors for a long-term availability, and now it comes packaged with the device itself, so you don't need to really worry about end of life issues. It will be guaranteed with our device as well. And we didn't stop at SIP. We also designed SOM modules, which is system on module, which will remove all the problem of soldering it on a BGA package. All of those things are done away with. The power management, everything is integrated. You can plug and play the SOM module on your application board and get yourself going. So we have solved the DRAM supply challenge, and we have simplified the PCB design with SIP and SOM modules. Now we just didn't do the SOM module and keep it proprietary. We actually opened it up as an open source design for people who want to manufacture their own SOMs using our design. And one such use case has been the Rugged board, where they have taken the Microchip SOM design and integrated onto a fantastically designed application board as well. So we are opening up our designs so that people can reuse it, manufacture themselves, or make much more advanced hardware, as you have seen in the case of the Rugged board as well. The SOM integrates DRAM, NVM, power management, everything, and it can be soldered like a QFP. All our customers are happy with soldering this, and there is no problem. Full design files, qualified hardware, shortens the design time extremely. So availability of SOM module is very critical for MPU designs, and this is something that Microchip started doing. We did not depend on third parties alone. We started doing our SOM modules, and then we open sourced it so that any third party who wants to use it, reuse it, modify it, can take it up and and do whatever changes they want. And we also launched an MPU check service for people who want to do chip down design. We have a PCB routing checking service that we offer, that Microchip offers, to validate whether your routing and your placement and everything is good, and you can go and place orders for PCBs. So this MPU check is a free service that you can avail from Microchip if you are using one of our MPU devices as is, without using our SOM modules on the board itself. And we would go and do the check and let you know what changes or what precautions you need to take. So this is a part of a lot of other services that we offer like this. We offer LAN check, which is for the Ethernet connectivity side of it. Wherever there are PCB design challenges and you want somebody to validate it, we have a well-defined process for it, which our customers can go through and get real good professional feedback on their PCB design as well. And coming back to software, full software for Linux and RTOS. Microchip, is mainline Linux. We don't have proprietary versions of Linux which Microchip maintains. Whatever Linux that we do, we contribute to the mainline. So mainline Linux is fully supported by Microchip. There is a great web portal in SAM for Linux. I'll show the link later in the slide, which you can go, and all of our Linux code can be found there. All of them are mainline, so you don't need to worry about maintenance, validation, and this goes through the toughest rigor that the Linux ecosystem offers in terms of the report that we do. We just didn't stop at offering Linux. So we have a very well developed software framework called Harmony. Harmony is our middleware software framework that all our 32-bit MCUs use. This has integration to multiple stacks, TCP/IP protocols, all of them, and this is again tested and maintained by Microchip. It is middle level. You have a GUI-based design where you can plug and play. Let us say you want to design a system with USB, Ethernet, and Zigbee. You can just click these three drivers, and all the middleware necessary for that will be integrated, and the code will be generated. So this is an extremely useful tool, an extremely advanced tool that our customers use in the MCU world. And the Atmel, the MPUs that we have can also do bare metal code, can run bare metal code. So we actually have now support for Harmony on the MPU as well. So customers who have already developed a system use case, the customer has already developed on the highest end MCU that we have using our Harmony framework, and he requires 3 more UARTs. There's a new requirement from the customer. He requires 3 more UARTs. He requires it much more faster. He requires more IOs. There is we have a very high-end MCUs available, but there is a limit for everything, and you will end up at running out with pin count or memory or features or peripherals, and you don't want to recreate the entire software again in Linux. So what you could do is take the same code, port it onto this MPU, and run bare metal. And we support it seamlessly. It works on MPLAB X. There is no change or difference between what you did, how you worked with an MCU. You can start working on the same way on our devices in a bare metal mode as well. Again, we have tons of graphical UI and security solutions available. I'm not going to go through each of them, but essentially what we are trying to say here is our mantra of designing the MPU was to make it easy. Simplifying MPU design for our industrial MCU based customers was our core mantra, our core philosophy, and that is how we have come up with these devices. We are not chasing dual core, quad core, tetra core devices. That is not where we start, because that is not our customer base. Microchip believes in first satisfying the current customer base that we have. How do we help them to the next level of their designs, rather than going and making a very fancy device for a mobile phone. So we are very focused on our existing customer base. We believe that our devices, whatever new devices that we come, has to be a logical migratory path for our existing customer base first. Then obviously we will also get new customers who want to use our more advanced devices that we offer from our portfolio. So this is our primary idea. That's how the roadmap of devices that you will see further will also look like. So what is this device that I'm talking about? This is a Cortex A5 core, can run up to 600 megahertz. It has an FPU, L2 cache. It can run both DDR2 and DDR3. Has 32-bit NAND support, ECC. It also has a 24-bit LCD graphics accelerator in some of the family of devices. We have integrated a peripheral touch controller. So if you want to do any touch-based buttons, the touch controller is integrated. There is even a Class D amplifier integrated into it for voice announcement kind of systems that a lot of our customers use. It can do video decoding of up to 720p. It has dual CAN. Again, this is very industrial centric. Dual CAN, dual eMAC, 3 USB ports. So this is all the connectivity features that it has. It's a plethora of connectivity. It looks pretty similar to a very high-end MCUs, but much more peripheral on offer. In terms of security is where we, so there are two key, if you want me to tell, what is the greatest thing about these MPUs compared to our competition, there are two things where we excel. And one is security and the other one is low power. The Cortex A5 DMIPS per milliamps is probably the lowest that you will get in the MPU world. CAN, etc. And the SAM A5D4 is more video and graphics focused, as a 720p hardware video decoder and 600 megahertz CPU. So these are the different family. All of them are based on the A5 core family of devices. So before the SAM A5, we actually had a before coming with the A5 core, we actually had a ARM9 core device, which was our first entry into the MPU world itself. And now we have upgraded that. It is now called a SAM 9X60, and it is available now. It is performance and easy migration path for the our ARM9 customers. It has better HMI compared to the older version. It has enhanced LCD, 2D graphics acceleration, etc. Much more connectivity. It has 13 FlexComs. FlexComs can be converted to any of the serial communication ports that you want. 3 hardware USB 5 and dual Ethernet CAN devices. Again, there are a lot of industrial designs that were on ARM9, and nobody is focusing on these ARM9 devices. Microchip is, because we want to give them an upgrade path, which is lower cost, higher performance, and with minimum modifications to their existing architecture. Again, it has good security features as well: AES, secure boot, OTP key for provisioning, etc. And BOM cost optimized new package options available. Again, SIP option is also available. Integrated DDR memory also is available in these devices. It is very competitive in terms of system cost. If you compare it with a flash MCU with external DRAM for any kind of graphic application. So if you are looking at a graphic-based application, low cost, if you're thinking of doing it on an MCU with very high-end MCU with memory, this is much more cost-optimized option, system cost-wise, in terms of performance as well as entire system cost. And it is ready for automotive grade. You can use them in automotive application, especially the CAN, etc. that is there. So very well in automotive based application as well. So the key message for the SAM9X is it's an entry level price point, the lowest price point for our devices on MPU32. Performance and cost path for existing ARM9 customers. There are a lot of legacy customers that we still want to support them with an upgraded lower cost versions, because the old legacy SAM ARM9 MPUs are extremely expensive. So they are still paying through their nose for an ARM9 and a processor that is really outdated. We have actually given a midlife upgrade to the existing ARM9 devices that we had, and made it much more lower cost and higher feature. Full machine line, mainline Linux support again available for this. This is also now supported with Harmony and ATAS for somebody who want to do bare metal based designs as well. And hardware graphics acceleration is supported in Harmony and Linux graphics from Microchip. Again, the mantra that I earlier said, our philosophy is to make it easy for our customers. The SAM system in package is one way of doing it. We are reducing the complexity of PCB design, and the DDR is integrated. So we are doing the MPU plus DDRAM in single package. Fewer PCB layers that reduces your system cost. You can achieve an MPU design with a 2-layer or 4-layer board now. So 2-layer, and we have reference designs available for 2-layer board as well with our MPUs. This is a huge system cost saving, guys, and for especially with industrial customers who are battling for every dollar reduction, and when they have to really pay through their nose if they have to go with a 8-layer PCB, etc. Again, more than anything else, it eliminates the total risk of designing with high-speed PCB layout. There are a lot of complexity issues, debugging problems, and again, time to market, which is everybody wants to get to the market fastest. We eliminate the entire risk of that you're doing the SIP devices. Again, this also helps you greatly if you are doing for EMI and RF qualification. The emitted radiation from single packages are much more contained because they are in a very small space, and you don't need to worry about the PCB routing, etc. for radiated emission qualification as well. Again, more than anything else, reduces DRAM obsolescence is a huge problem, especially if you're using DDR2, etc. In your design, it is not guaranteed that these DDR2 devices exist if you're using it on the board. We have, Microchip has long-term contracts and supply guarantees with DDR suppliers. In this case, Winbond, for us to supply for more than 10 years. So there is contractual obligation for them to keep it. So we can supply the devices without any problem for those period of time as well. And the SIP is not the end of the story. We want our customers to jumpstart the design, not even bother about any complex PCB design or anything. We have a SOM module available from Microchip as well as available from our third-party partners like Phytech. It removes entire hardware design complexity. Available as qualified module, design files available for customization if you want to do later. Plug and play Linux distribution. This runs as is on this board. put the board, download the Linux into the board, and you are up and running within hours. 3 months from concept to production. Again, these, I mean, you can talk about Raspberry Pi, etc. These are mainline Linux and industrial grade SOM modules, which you can directly take to production. So that is where we differ, and we are different from the others, and the rich kind of peripheral set integration that we have done in terms of serial peripherals, CAN, Ethernet as well. Again, the variety of SOM modules we have done, we have also added the Wi-Fi device, the very popular WIL-C 3000 Wi-Fi network controller onto the SOM module. Now we have a new Wi-Fi SOM module, which has the Wi-Fi module and the MPU all integrated in one module as well. And the software for this ready to go with all the drivers, etc. So you don't need to bother about driver integration and all of that. Right, so low power with WIL-C 3000, wired connectivity for existing SOM, full Linux support for WIL-C 3000. Again, product is certified for industrial temperature grade. You can also get the Gerber and schematics for this SOM module, make your own and modify, do whatever you want. And we have evaluation boards for both wireless SOM as well as the LPDDR SIP module separately. The target applications here are bridges, gateways, low power end nodes, which now require Linux kind of performance and Wi-Fi connected systems. Again, stressing back to the same thing, making MPU software easier. We maintain mainline Linux and it is all supported internally. Regularly updated the LTS Linux. Easy bring up demos available for all development boards, so you don't need to really customize anything. There are demos that are available for all our development boards, and there are we are going to have full training modules available for our MPUs as well. We have one that is scheduled for next month. We will share the same with Phytech as well, so that they can broadcast this training on Linux and how to design with Linux-based systems. And free GUI development package is also in process, where you can develop an advanced GUIs with our processes as well. And if you want to do bare metal, we have support for that with class leading middleware software with Microchip Harmony. And also we support all the key RTOSs. If you don't want to go with Linux, you can run FreeRTOS or any other RTOS that can easily get plugged into our Harmony framework to make a bare metal based system as well possible. Again, to stress the same point, this is iRobot is a very famous company that does vacuum cleaners which are automated. They come in these round KRM-PON form factors that are automatic, and they go on sweeping your floors by themselves. I mean, that would have been really useful in the lockdown, especially when mates are not turning up. They can charge themselves, they can go around sweeping and all of that without any intervention. And they use our MPUs, and this is what the Patrick Doyle, one of the chief designers, said. He kept on mentioning Atmel and Microchip. Publicly praise their support for SAMFI and their support for Linux. What they really value, this is a customer's word, is Microchip works hard to get their changes back into mainline, and Microchip works hard to get their Yocto build. So this is extremely important if you are already familiar with the Linux ecosystem, the Yocto build, and getting our changes that we make, bug fixes, all of that back to the mainline is very important for all of the updates to work seamlessly. This is how we are enabling, making things simpler, keeping your products that are there on the field up to date, the latest fixes, etc., all of them patched. So this is very important, and this is how Microchip is providing service to all our MPU clients. Again, there are a lot of customers who are using the SAMFI as a bridge. When their design is overflown, they're no longer able to accommodate the design in an MCU, but at that instant they may not want to necessarily change the software to Linux, we have a bare metal Harmony ecosystem available. This Harmony is a middleware, extremely complex and comprehensive set of middleware drivers and software available for any 32-bit MCU you can name from our company. Extremely good software middleware developed, maintained, serviced by Microchip, now also available for our MPUs if you want to run bare metal. There are applications that need real-time responses which Linux-based systems may not be able to provide. They also would want to run bare metal, so we can support those kind of applications as well with our Harmony framework. It's supported on the SAM AFI D2 today, and the SAM 9, the older family devices, is also under development and will be available to all of you. Again, Harmony is an interoperable, compatible, modular middleware framework for all our 32-bit MCUs. In terms of security, true security is integrated. Security, if you call anything system secure, it has to be based in hardware. Software-based securities are not necessarily impregnable. They can be easily broken. So true security impacts both hardware and software. No software suite can hide the insecurities of the hardware that you have underlying. And no hardware can prevent insecure software from adding this. So this shows how both software and hardware are interwoven in order to give you a more secure system. You need to have really foolproof hardware, and you need to really have foolproof software. And again, foolproof software means software that is constantly updated and constantly upgraded with all the necessary patches. So Microchip offers market-leading MPU security, secure boot, on-chip key storage, immutable boot, physical protection against tamper, physical attack, hardware crypto, ARM trust zone if you want to run two different domains, trusted as well as non-trusted applications, and all the middleware and expertise available to simplify design and security. We have in India one of the best capabilities to support software as well as security for our customers that want to use our devices. And long-term major MPU suppliers for financial and secured application with pre-certified MPUs. So we have our SAM AFI D2 pre-certified for PCI, and especially if you're doing any financial application or extremely safety critical secure application that requires certification, we have a pre-certified device that you could use to get your hardware certified for financial transactions or for other critical security applications. We have pre-certified devices as well.
Mr. Vanu Prakash,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Just time is around already 10 minutes ahead. Can we make it a little bit quicker, basically?
Yeah, I have a couple of slides and I'll take questions. That's all. So I think I'm at the end of the presentation. I'll probably skip this one and go to the MPU value proposition. Microchip's corporate why should you really consider Microchip's MPUs? I mean, Microchip is not necessarily known as an MPU leader. We don't claim to be an MPU leader. I explained during the entire conversation what was our philosophy. Certification lapses. So this is extremely critical. We have a customer-driven obsolescence policy wherein we will keep manufacturing the devices as long as the customer is buying from us. Open source software and hardware, full Linux, RTOS support, middleware, and also all of our hardware designs, the SOM, etc., are all open source for you to modify and use. Low power, these MPUs, the SAM-A5 D2 is the lowest power MPU in the market. We are a market leader in both standby and active modes. So if you are doing any MPU design that is battery operated, you can only bet on SAM-A5 kind of devices. Ease of use, I spoke about how we have made customer life easier. Our whole philosophy is to reduce your time cycle to go into production, and what we are doing in order to help this part. So that is ease of use. Hardware and software security, we are providing flagship hardware and software security, the best you can bargain in this market. And we have great performance roadmap. New devices are coming up in the roadmap for both HM connectivity. You don't need to worry what after I want an upgrade path for 600 megahertz, I want a gigahertz processor, dual core processor. We have it coming. Be a beta customer if you are interested. And again, our MPU philosophy is core based on industrial and long life applications, low power and high security applications. That is where we are currently focused on, and our product line is currently focused on. So this is our value proposition in terms of what we want to offer our customers. And target applications, gateways, thermostats, white goods, vacuum cleaners, pass terminal, label printers, surveillance cameras, barcode scanners, biometrics, high-end sound box, etc. All of these are our sweet spots that where we sell our MPUs. This is a slide that just to show you a snapshot of where we are progressing. We will be coming up with we already have a device that has a A7 core that is there, multi-core, dual-core options available, performance range up to gigahertz in that. So there is an upgrade path to a much higher performance device with all the same greatness of the SIP, SOM, and software philosophies that I previously explained. So there is a fantastic upgrade path that we will be offering our clients. Again, this is designed to help our existing customer base on the MPU, MCU to have higher performance and better software ecosystem than our competition has. The last slide: reduce cost, mitigate risk, and shorten time to market. So these are the three main things that you'll be worried if you are a customer trying to do a design. You want to reduce cost. I'm sure all of you listening to me would agree on this. You want to mitigate risks. Many of these you may not your risk, and more than anything else in the MPU domain, you want to shorten the time to market. And we have explained in detail how we have done with SIP, SOM devices that we are offering. It is very important to mention at this time the partnership that we have with Phytech and how we have come up with this rugged board, which is based on our SOM module. But then the Phytech has developed a fantastic application board that has all the necessary hardware for any industrial customer to start his application and completely prototype the application on that particular board, even probably go to production in the same board as well. Market leading low power consumption. If you want low power and MPU Linux based design, don't think of anything else than SAM-A5. Market leading chip securities. I mean, looking at security, I'm sure you'll naturally walk into these devices. And performance and functional upgrade path for our MCU customers and MPU customers that are logical, that are based on what we support in terms of our focus markets and our areas that we want to focus and serve. And again, we are not manufacturing quad-core fancy devices for mobile market. This is for our industrial embedded customers that we serve in India, for them to give the best in class upgrade to a Linux-based system. This is the MPU story of Microchip. I'm happy to take questions. I'm probably overrun time. I apologize for that, but if there are any questions, the moderator, can you please point out to me? I'll try my best to answer those, and my panelist as well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Bhanuprakash, for your very much narrative information about microchip processor technology, the software, as well as especially the microcontroller and the microprocessor technology and the offerings. So before going to the questions, I think most of the questions we have already answered on the live session. But yeah, we'll be taking those questions like on live. I'll ask you those questions. But before that, I just wanted to introduce Rugged Board a little bit. I just wanted to show the product. Sir, can you just stop your screen, please, once? Mr. Vanu, sir, can you please stop your screen sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Ashraful, let's jump to the QA, and in QA we can use one of the. Let's jump to the QA first.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, yes. Let us go to the question answer then. So I'll be just taking some of the questions from the Q&A section. So one of the person has asked, like Mr. Rajkumar Jain, he has asked, like, will it be more secure if we work on Linux-based MPU than a traditional MPU? Mr. Vanu Prakash, can you may take the question?
So good question. So the question is a system more secure if you work on Linux-based systems or on an MCU-based systems? So as I was telling, there are two key components to any secure system. One is the hardware and the security features, etc. on the hardware. The other one is the software part of it. Security vulnerabilities exist in hardware domain. It also exists in the software domain. Any proven software like Linux gives you the great advantage of tested software, especially something that a lot of people are trying to hack all over the world. You know that these, even if there are vulnerabilities, it will get exposed quickly and get addressed quickly as well in terms of patches, etc. So, yes, Linux-based systems in terms of software vulnerabilities and bug fixing patches, they are so all the middleware is tested. We are also working towards making them secure certified, so that the software that you use from Microchip have very little vulnerabilities, or even if vulnerabilities are identified, we are able to patch them quickly. But more than everything else, the most important aspect of security is that your system has to be upgradable in terms of software. If your system is static in terms of software, it is insecure by definition. So any system, whether it is an MCU system or an MPU system, make sure that you have upgradability in terms of software. Otherwise, there's no way you will be able to fix the bugs that are there in the software. So that is my simple answer to question.
Yeah, just to add, Mr. Bhanu, say now when you're going for a MCUs, basically, so really we have to see whether you are your product is a connected product or a standalone product, right? So mostly in standalone products, the security in terms of the software failure, whereas when it is in a connected product, mainly on the threat on the network, basically. So
Yeah,
when you come to a network.
True, but biggest vulnerability today is for any product is that they offer some kind of firmware upgradability in their device. And if you offer firmware upgradability in the device, you are exposing the biggest vulnerability there. Any firmware upgradability, if it is not signed, if it is not a secure upgrade, then your system is vulnerable. And that is how non-connected systems, if you know, nuclear reactors were hacked using, which are not connected to any network, were hacked using malicious code in PLC machines. So there are many ways that it can be hacked. Depends on how important the target is. But the basic line of rule today is any system. I have not seen many devices that have inverters, etc., which are standalone, may not have any connectivity, have some kind of firmware upgradability available on the device. USB or some kind of firmware, on the UART, etc. They have a bootloader running. If you have a firmware upgradability running, that's the biggest gateway. You won't hack the device.
Okay. Yeah.
Ashraful, there was one more request. Someone has asked whether we can show that Cortex slide, and then I think it was from the session
one. Slide. Yes.
So I believe my screen is visible.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yeah. So this is what so we started the session 1 saying that like the architecture, core, SOC, SBC, and the product. So this is the paradigm for the hardware system. And then like I believe this is what has been asked. So in Cortex microcontroller course, these are the various cores. So probably maybe we will have a specific one more session wherein which we go little bit deep on each of the uh, microcontroller cores and how they differ. So just to quickly throw ARM7 and Cortex, ARM7 is a classic microcontroller, 60 megahertz. And then the upgrade was of ARM7 was with M3, and M0, M plus are the low power one. M4, M7, M8 are more with the DSP cores for higher performance or high-end MCUs. And the interesting microcontrollers for the IoT developers would be Cortex M23, M33, and M55, which are more with secure component now. So these microcontrollers are itself with a security. So one of the best microcontroller from Microchip would be SAM L11, which is based on Cortex M23. So this would be a very good choice for all your IoT sensor nodes and all, basically. This is kind of a difference. Probably later on you can take up. So the real-time course. So these are the list of real-time cores: Cortex R4, R5, R7, and R8. So mainly for the hard real-time and the time critical applications. And coming to the application course, so these are the cores starting from ARM9. So what we have seen from Microchip SAM 9, basically, right? Like, so SAM 926. So these are the oldest microcontroller which are microprocessors, MPUs, which are alive till today. So that's the great support from Atmel, which is a part of Microchip now. So whatever the SAM A5D2 we have been seeing, it is from Cortex A5 series, basically, which is a upgrade of ARM9. So if you really compare in terms of core performance, ARM9 versus ARM Cortex A5, that's how it provides a very low cost upgradable solution for the MPU range, basically. So yeah, we can take up to the next question. So probably we will go a little bit deep on these things, maybe in dedicated sessions.
Yeah. So one more question from Mr. Rajkumar Jain. He has asked, like, what are the FiTech, my FiTech products based on Microchip MPUs? So that is one of the question. I think that one I'll just quickly showcase the product, basically. Yeah. So this is one of the product what we have actually built. I hope my screen is visible, right? Vasu sir? Hello. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have actually used SAM A5D2, which is the SIP module. What actually Mr. Vanuprakash,
so your voice
is breaking.
Let me take up. So just to introduce the rugged board. Sure. So it's a open source hardware.
Yeah, Vasu sir.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
So I think Ashraful got disconnected. I believe Ashraful, it is disturbance, so you can stop your screen probably. So this is a let it be there. Otherwise, designed and developed by FiTech in partnership with Microchip, and also we have supporting partners, Excel Point from a sourcing point, and then like we have a local sourcing partner, Source Technologies, who have contributed for the bringing this hardware into mass production. So today we have 10,000 units ready available for the customer applications in this COVID situation. So that is one of the open source hardware project. Other queries we can take it up, Ashraful.
Yes. Okay. So one more question actually that was from my side. That is like, what is the components availability actually for Indian customers? So are the components or the supply chain hampered anything because of this COVID-19 situation? Hello. Vasu sir, I think you can continue with, I mean, can you?
This question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bhanu sir, you can take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have had no major disturbance in supply chain. Actually, our factories were running through the entire COVID situation. Some of them had a slightly lower capacity because of a lesser number of employees there. But some of them actually, one of our factories, our guys stayed back in the same assembly unit in Thailand and Philippines, and are serving customers. So we were able to maintain steady flow of components even the entire throughout the COVID period till now. India, I mean, had a lockdown where they didn't allow shipments to come inside. So India specific issue, but that was because the government did not allow. I think the customs was not working or something like that. So, but now everything is fine. I think there's no issue in terms of availability.
Yeah. So specifically,
And,
also to add on to this, we are. I know that like a lot of because of this mainly problem in the logistics. So we had the problem, a short-term problem, but I believe a lot of sourcing partners are active. So next month we would also onboard a couple of distribution partners and local sourcing partners. So really to solve this puzzle, whatever we answer, it looks more half justifying answer. So that's why we wanted to interface our sourcing partners like Arrow and even Aero SM Electronics, Millennium, and other guys. Excel Point is already there with us. And then also INR billing partners like Source Technology, Onyx, and other partners we would be interfacing in the next month sessions. So we have a dedicated session for manufacturing. So one of the interesting question I would like to take, I think this is from one of the MTech student who is asking which skill should I gain to enter into industries like microchip and Phytech. So I believe the basic electronics and C programming skills would be the most important skills. And today it's not only the skills, you need to have a working experience where you have to really prove that like you have worked on some boards and developed some applications, and it's not that like say today the students mindset is something like I will develop once I get the job. I believe the industries are now increasing their expectations level because of these all open source hardwares and then like a lot of infrastructure and resources available online. So if you really see a lot of communities which are built around these open source hardwares like Hackster.io and Circuit.io enabled by DG, BeagleBone with the electronics and software development skills.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we can go to the next question. Yeah,
so
we'll
Nadeem Khan has shared one of the queries. Suppose take a use case. Suppose I want to migrate my embedded industrial device from a SOM plus carrier board we use right now A5D4. What is the process from microchip point of view for a smooth and faster migration? Magal sir, you want to take up? I think you have already.
Yes, in fact, I responded to that question in a chat box. So what I would suggest to him is either to get started with an Explain Pro board, or any of our SOM module board, or Phytex SOM module board, to get started. I think that should pretty much cover up most of the porting activity from DeFi D4 to D2, and with some minor changes here and there, but that should suffice, is what I think. That should be a easier migration.
Yeah, just to add on your to Srinivas sir, because already you have used on A5D4. So if you really see, I don't know how much of work you might have done on the driver part. So if you have really worked only on the application part, it would be a straight away software efforts, and then like because all these hardwares are based on the same SoC, it should not be a major complex activity, because most of the BSP part are supported by Microchip as well as Phytex. So we have done all the BSP part on these SBCs, so like you can download all the softwares, and it is based on Yocto build system, so you can customize the software packages, and mostly you might have to little bit here and there configure your application, I believe. So
yeah. And someone asked me a question, how good it is to how good. The important thing one has to consider is the obsolescence, because people keep changing the chips on the Raspberry Pi boards and other things. What happens is the software maintenance becomes very difficult, and if you want to procure perhaps the previous version of the board, and by the time after 2 years, 3 years, they are not available. So these are the major challenges one would go through. They are definitely a good boards to get started, lot of ecosystem, lot of software available, but can you sustain it for a very long time is something that you have to think through.
User perspective, if you really want to differentiate BeagleBone rugged board with Raspberry Pi, then very first thing, like say let us first move the application, divide the application into two. One is the GUI related and another one is standalone. So if you want to control IO and you want to do PLC automation, factory automation, building automation, most of the times what you need is you want to take the data from different industrial devices, like say gas meter or electricity meter or like PLC. So these are the things which really gives you industrial interfaces like RS-232, RS-485 CAN. So these are the ready industrial interfaces which are already available in rugged board with industrial components, right? Like by the components. These are the ready interfaces available, and the beauty is Raspberry Pi is an open source, rugged board is an open source. Today you can design, I can assure that like in 2 to 3 months, we can make any of your team members to design their own SBC and produce in India. I think, which has not have happened till now for a Raspberry Pi. There is a compute module in Raspberry Pi, but still people are gearing up. Here we have seen one of the latest use case, one of our industrial automotive customer, indeed, basically a transportation vertical, who have completed the design in 6 weeks, and they are board. They have their own single board computer in 6 weeks up and running with this Linux. Yeah, next question. So
one of the participants asked, what are the the Linux, does rugged board support all the versions of Linux? Do you want to?
Yeah. So the beauty is here, it is a customized industrial Linux variant you built using Yocto build system. But like we also do support the Buildroot, which is the oldest build system. So I believe we will take one full flex session on the variants of Linux. Today, I think the definition of Linux for embedded systems is quite wired, basically. So today, coming to this AI and ML, the definitions of, or when you go straight away using the Raspberry Pi with Debian operating system or Ubuntu operating system, I think there is a wide definition of embedded operating system. So normally in industry, the embedded operating system, especially Linux, is built by the developers or the product manufacturers, so that they have the control on each of the feature which is enabled or disabled in that operating system. So normally since last 33 years, Phytech has been developing these SOM modules, and we do customize or develop the Linux kernel in-house. So we take the open source Linux kernel, we take the patches or the upgrades from the MPU guys like Microchip or other partners, and then we do the board level customization in-house. So you get a customized Linux version. And coming to the version of the kernels, yes, it is quite in line with whatever the variants which are available or compatible with SAM A5, or you can say ARM9 SAM 9260 also. So whatever there is a big community from Atmel, 8091 SAM for Linux, SAM Linux for 8091, I believe. So wherein which you can see all the, so these are our mainline Linux kernels. Kernel.org, you can download these kernel variants, and very much compatible with all the Linux kernels. So please attend embedded OS session in future. I believe we will keep on posting on that. So one of the query, I can see the next query, if we want to go, like one of the query was, these devices support HDMI interface. These are more devices targeted towards the like headless, or at least the rugged board is more oriented towards the headless applications like gateway and control systems, but it also supports a 24-bit RGB display. So you can interface starting from 2.8 TFT touch display controller till 7-inch or 10-inch. So it supports a RGB interface for the display interface. How?
The question is here. It is about display
So
capability,
one
display
more
support
query
capability.
was like support of software driver changes. Yeah. So I think it's the same. 24-bit RGB interface is there. VGA connectivity and all. Yeah, this is all related to that. So RGB to VGA converter you can use, but like we highly do not recommend until and unless you have only 1 or 2 screens for a HMI purpose. Yeah, I think most of the queries are answered. So one of the, as you said, 6 months you made your custom design their own SBC. I'm quite interested.
Yeah, I think I'll be sharing the purchase link.
Yeah.
I think.
So yeah, Mr. Nadeem. So as these SBCs are designed with a philosophy of not with a SOM, not with a SOC, but a SOM. So the complex design has been moved in the system on module, wherein which your processor and RAM are already on SOC. So you only interface the power, Ethernet, and flash. So these are the major components which are again moved on the SOM module. So now it is like a bigger microcontroller for you to design your own single board computer. And as I told, like we had a success story with our partners in 6 weeks, not 6 months. And we also introduced a lot of partners from PCB and manufacturing. So who can help really in a quick turnover time. So yeah, I think there were a lot of similar queries, but like if anything we miss, please post it on our forum also. Now our forum is up. So we took a week's time. So like we are always reachable. It's not only on this session. So you can go to phytechembedded.in/forum, where in which we have a special category called open sessions. Ashrafullah, if you have not made, you can make a group called open sessions, and then like where all our partners are requested to post their queries. So, and we will try also to capture some of these queries, make a summary of all these queries and also capture them in this.
Yeah, sure.
In the forum.
Sure, sir. I have also shared the link of the forum on the chat box. So if you are seeing the chat, you can just directly go to the forum and reply or ask any questions. So I think, yeah, we have come to the end of answering almost all the questions. Yeah, I think we have come towards the end.
Yeah, we can wind up with the last message. Thank you very much. Thank you for the patience to to be with us for more than 1.5 hours. I think it's really 1 hour 50 minutes, so near to 2 hours. So, and we request you to encourage our teams and our partner teams to connect with you. We will try, in next sessions we will try most to optimize the session so that like we stand on our promise that like we will only kill your 1 hour. And the next session on Monday we would be requesting you to join by 12 to 1 basically. Here we take a leave. Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and especially thanks to Microchip team for giving your very much valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you may also want to pass on our email contacts to, in case if they have any questions that we can clarify. And thank you, Phytech team and all the participants for your patience and also for all good questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome, sir. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.